And welcome back to the channel where we talk about only good comics. I'm Brant, and this is Friday First. This is that series where we talk about those brand new #1 issues, new character debuts, new story arcs, and the like. And this is for books that are coming out on March 19th, 2025. So, first of all, I apologize for missing the show last week. I did make a community post with my thoughts on the first coming out, like briefly and everything. So, and I appreciate comments that I got and everything, and support for the show and everything. I just, I was really sick. I had no voice. I only started feeling better over the weekend, and now I might be relapsing. It's just kind of going around in our family. So, but hopefully it's not too bad this time around, because I have to go to a craft show this weekend. Sorry, I've got something in my eye. I have to go to a craft show this weekend, so hopefully it it's not too bad, and I'm not as sick as I was last week, because that would be awful. But anyway, I am here. My voice is back, at least for now, and I'm ready to talk about some comics. So let's get into it. As far as books from last week, I've only gotten to read 2 of the first issues. I started reading the Minor Threats spinoff book, but I only got a few pages in before I needed to record this. And I don't know if that particular series is my thing anyway. So anyway, the 2 that I did get to read, though, the first one is from Mad Cave. This is Dark Pyramid issue 1, and this is about a guy named Hooky Hidalgo, who's a streamer. He's an adventurist. He goes mountain climbing, exploring, that kind of thing, and he live streams it. Well, he goes to this place in, I think it's Alaska, and in Mount Denali in Alaska, and he stumbles across this cave, and all of a sudden his feed goes dead and he disappears. So his girlfriend goes looking for him, and all these other people, all these streamers and stuff, go and look for him. And obviously something nefarious with the name like Dark Pyramid is at play here. And, where it is revealed by the end of the issue, at least in part, what is going on, and possibly what happened to this Hooky Hidalgo guy. So I like the concept. I like the idea behind it. I like those kind of movies. It's like The Ruins or something. You're like, either you're exploring or you're on vacation or something creepy and mystical kind of happens, and you and your friend group, whatever, gets pulled into it. I like those kind of movies and stories in general. So this one sounded interesting to me. What I didn't love, honestly, and this is just a nitpick from me, what I didn't love was that we got the threat revealed by the end of the first issue. I would have liked it to have been a little bit more mysterious, and maybe drawn out a little bit more. That's the nitpick I have. I thought it was decently paced. It was okay. The girlfriend is I don't know if I like the character enough to follow the story, because obviously everything is going to be from her point of view now, because Hooky is missing, and so Becca is our kind of entrance character into the story, and I don't know if she's likable enough for me to latch onto. So we'll see. I'll try out the second issue, and we'll see if it continues to improve, and we'll see where this mystery goes now that we know what this threat is. The other book I did read was Rogue Sun issue number 25, and this was the introduction of a second Rogue Sun, which we already kind of knew, and it was in the very first page, basically, that Ori, or Ari, however you pronounce her name, is Dylan's stepsister, or not stepsister, half sister. Sorry, half sister. And she has kind of bonded with the entity, the former Rogue Sun that used to be in Dylan's body, and somehow he got imprinted onto Ori. So now she's able to become a Rogue Sun as well, and we have this confrontation between Dylan and Ari, both as Rogue Suns, and fighting and everything, and dealing with that, as well as kind of dealing with this new threat that rises up and kind of takes a toll on both of the Rogue Sons in this issue. So I thought it was a really good issue. It calls it a jumping on point for new readers. They recapped some of it. They really did. They recapped, what happened with Dylan and his mom, and Dylan's relationship with his dad, and why he's with, his half sister and brother and their mom, and all that stuff. So we did get a sort of a recap. It didn't fill in all the gaps, but yeah, if you're at all familiar with the concept of Rogue Son, you could jump in here and be like, okay, maybe I can catch up with the story from here. And we're kind of setting a new status quo going forward with this issue. So pretty solid issue. And I like the new direction. I like that we've kind of gone back to the family and we're paying more attention to that dynamic instead of just, going in off and fighting these supernatural threats, which is where I feel like the book kind of got away from itself a little bit, or at least from the heart of it. And I like this kind of story better, where we're dealing with all the emotions that go with trying to be a superhero when you've got all this, personal trauma going on. So these are the kind of issues that I like best. And so really solid issue of Rogue Son. If you've been reading Rogue Son and you fell off of it or whatever, I think this would be a good place to jump back into it. And again, if you're coming in new, 25 issues is it's a big issue for a comic, so you'd have to go through 24 past issues if you just want to jump in and try to catch up. I think you can get the gist of what has happened before and kind of just jump on from this point, like it says. So there you go. All right, so now we're going to get into those first for next week, and we'll start with a shout out and a few honorable mentions. All right, our shout out this week is LA Strong from Mad Cave. And this is a relief effort book for all of those that lost their homes during the LA fires. And they pulled together a bunch of big names from the comic industry, including Brian Michael Bendis, Brian Azzarello, Dan Didio, Christos Gage, Jimmy Palmiotti, Greg Pak, Sina Grace, Stephanie Williams, Steve Orlando, and a bunch of others. Just wanted to call out a few of the names, but a lot of names, and 100% of the profits go towards relief efforts for those that suffered loss during the LA fire. So really cool. Doesn't really say much about like the story content itself, but you do know all those creators are involved. This is a $9.99 book. And that's a really cool and really commendable project to do for Mad Cave. So definitely wanted to shout that one out and give them their props for putting this together. All right, moving into our honorable mentions. First up, we have Red Sonja Attacks Mars. So if you are a fan of Mars Attacks or Red Sonja or both, this would be the perfect book for you, as these two worlds collide in this. I don't know if it's a one shot or if it's a mini series. I'm not sure, but it is a polybagged book for $4.99, and it says, while serving out a life debt, Red Sonja uncovers a sinister prophecy of cosmic foulness from beyond the stars and must trek from the deserts south of Hyrcania all the way to the northern shores of the Biliet Sea to face down the insidious invaders from Mars. So there you go. That is the mashup maybe you never knew you wanted, and here it is. If you're a fan, check it out. Next next honorable mention goes to Adventure Man Family Tree issue 1. I read the first couple of issues of the very first Adventure Man series, and then I think I tried one issue of one of the follow-ups. I like the book. I like the concept. I like the character. For whatever reason, I read so many books that different things have to get cut, and this was one that just never quite made the list for me. But I do like, the general concept of it, and the art is always strong in these books. But if you are a fan of the Adventure Man series, which is written by Matt Fraction with pencils by Terry Dotson, inks by Rachel Dotson. So top-notch creative team here. This is following the events of Adventure Man Ghost Lights, which I believe is the one that I read one issue of. And this taps into the family and the history of Adventure Man and shows you how Adventure Man and Madame Chagall, the super scientist, came together in this series. So again, if you're a fan of either of these creators or this series, check this one out. And finally, the last honorable mention this week is Ultimate X-Men issue number 13. This is the start of the second year of Ultimate X-Men. And it says chaos erupts as former children of the Atom rise up against the society that used and abused them, just as tension between Armor and Maystorm comes to a head in an explosive confrontation. So I don't read Ultimate X-Men, but if you do, this is the start of a second year. So you want to definitely jump in here and, catch up what's going on, or just, be excited for the second year of this series. And with that, we're going to get into those graded first. All right, first up from Image Comics, we have Dreamweaver Giant Size Special Issue 1. This centers around this character named Cutler Carlton, who is a Dreamweaver, but he has grown too old and to handle this magical threat that is cropped up from his past. So he's transferred his powers to a younger character named Bella Howard. And this process has wreaked havoc on both of their lives. So this is written by Chris Rael, who formerly from IDW, has an imprint now at Image, I believe. And Nelson Daniel is the artist. So interesting concept. I like Dreamwalker kind of stuff. And, it's obviously dealing with magical stuff and transference of powers and all that stuff. So it sounds kind of up my alley, so I'm definitely intrigued by it. It's a $5.99 perfect bound book, so that gives me a little pause, but we'll check it out. But I'm going to give this one a possibly good. I'm not familiar with the artist, and I can't tell by that cover whether I'm going to like the interiors or not. That's Ashley Wood doing the cover art, so we're not seeing the actual interior art here. So I'm just not sure what to expect from this one, but the concept sounds interesting, so possibly good from me. Next up from Oni Press, we have Out of Alcatraz issue number 1. This is written by Christopher Cantwell with art by Tyler Crook. Now, I'm not familiar with Tyler Crook, but I am familiar with Christopher Cantwell's writing, and I like a lot of it. So this is their take on the true story of the prisoners that escaped Alcatraz back in the 60s, Frank Morris and Clarence Anglin. And this follows basically a what if. They made it to land, and they met up with this young woman who is running from something as well. So they kind of, meet up and head for the border and try to make it out alive as this federal manhunt is after them, which, if you know anything about these escapees from Alcatraz, they were never found. They're presumed that they drowned, because it's an island, and unless they had an escape boat stashed, which is possible. We never know. You'll never know. Only they know, I guess. But this is Christopher Cantwell's take on what happened to these escapees from Alcatraz. So I think that sounds pretty interesting. Don't see a lot of stories centered around these characters or these people. So yeah, I'm going to give this one a potentially good. I'm definitely going to try to check it out. Can't always find Oni Press books, but I'm going to try to check this one out. And we'll see what it's all about. Next up is Crush Death issue 1. This is from Mad Cave. And this is written by Tim Daniel and David Andrew with art by Alex Sanchez. I'm not really familiar with any of those creators. So let's see. Did they do the cover art? Yeah, Alex Sanchez did the cover art. So this is the interior art as well, which looks pretty solid to me. I like the color palette there, the reds and everything. But this is a story about two siblings who are wrestling for command of a nuclear submarine. And this is the near future, and climate change has affected everything. And this science officer, Leona Pearson, is caught between these brothers and kind of afraid of the surface world. So now something alien has infiltrated into, I guess, the submarine. And so now this balance of power is shifting and everything. And now they're heading for this surface world that is toxic in the, I guess, fallout of, nuclear war or whatever. So interesting. Post-apocalyptic stuff sometimes is really good. Sometimes, it, I don't know. It becomes Mad Max, and I'm not a Mad Max fan. So I don't know what their world is going to look like, what this version of Earth post-apocalyptic, post-nuclear war is going to look like, or whatever it is. But I am intrigued, and Mad Cave, again, as I always say, puts out really strong stuff. So I'm going to try to check this one out. I'm going to give it a possibly good, just because I don't know what to expect with this one. Next, we have The Last Boy from Boom Studios. Not The Lost Boy, but The Last Boy, but it is Peter Pan. It is years after the adventures with Wendy Darling. Peter Pan is the only young person left, the only lost boy, basically, left in Neverland that is holding on to his youth, while Wendy is back in London, yearning for her childhood and, dealing with the responsibility of being an adult and all that stuff. And everything starts to it says there, as their desires create a mirror of fantasy and reality, a disaster encounter with the aging Captain Hook becomes the catalyst for Peter's realization that Neverland is growing up without him. So this is written by Dan Panosian, who did the Alice Never After series from Boom Studios as well, and also Canary. And it's with art by Alessio Avalon, however you pronounce that. So if you were a fan of the Alice Never After series, this might be right up your alley. I tried the series. It wasn't really for me, but I definitely appreciate when we have, those kind of takes on those classic tales. I mean, we're doing it ourselves with Curiouser. So I love that kind of thing. And I'm a big Peter Pan fan. So I'm probably going to check out this first issue. I'm going to give it a potentially good. And we'll see what Panosian's take on Peter Pan is in this one. Also from Boom Studios, here's a series that I have not checked out in a while, Mouse Guard Dawn of the Black Axe #1. Now, I remember when Mouse Guard first came out, and what a big hit, surprise hit that it was. Came out of nowhere. It was a square format book. It was different. And but the art was really strong, and people fell in love with this, and I was one of them. I really loved the early Mouse Guard stuff. So this particular story is in celebration of the 20th anniversary, and we're finally getting the origin story of the Black Axe, which was this particular Mouse Guard that kind of took up arms and became this hero of legend in this world of mice. So we're gonna finally see how this weapon, this ancient weapon's first mouse wielder and champion Bardrick, set forth on this epic quest. So this is really cool that we're revisiting this, and we've got Gabriel Rodriguez from Lock and Key doing art here. Obviously, still by David Peterson, who created Mouse Guard way back when. And so I'm excited about this one, actually, and I'm looking forward to this one coming out. And I am giving this one a promisingly good, just based on my experience with Mouse Guard in the past. Next up, we have Who Are the Power Pals, #1 from Dark Horse. Now, this follows a couple of best friends who played teen superheroes, Swallow and Buzzard, in this 90s TV show called Power Pals that only lasted 3 episodes, then got canceled. So chasing fame and all that good stuff, they've been trying to, get back into Hollywood and all that stuff ever since. and they've got jobs as security guards in Hollywood on studio lots and all that kind of stuff. They were dropped by their agents and everything. Now they're middle aged, and they have kind of found themselves back in the public eye because they thwart some kind of badgering of these tourists, and it kind of goes viral. So they kind of capitalize on this fame, but they get caught up with this real crime boss that kind of threatens their existence as overall. So their search for fame has resulted in them falling on the radar of an actual crime boss while they're trying to play pretend heroes in the real world now. Really interesting concept. Not familiar with the creative team. This is written by Dwayne Murray with art by Ahmed Rafat. So I'm not familiar at all with this creative team, but this concept sounds really interesting. It definitely sounds like Dark Horse's superhero kind of flair. It puts me in mind of other stuff that Dark Horse has published in the past in the superhero realm. So very fitting there. But again, the concept is really interesting to me. I'm definitely going to try out this first issue, and I'm going to give this one a potentially good. Dynamite Entertainment brings us our next one, which is Thundercats Lost issue 1. This is another kind of spinoff. I believe it's a one-shot as well in the Thundercats world, just like Apex was, and it's by the same creative team, Ed Brisson and Rafa Lobasco, that did the Apex one shot, which I thought was really good. And so now we're seeing this tale within the Thundercats universe featuring 5 Thundercat warriors, not our usual ones. This is Lynx O, Shin Ligan, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, Pumra, and Bengali, who wields this hammer. So they are lost in this mysterious place, and there's an antagonist that has a connection to the Book of Omens in this story as well. So Dynamite's doing some really cool stuff with the Thundercats franchise and telling us these lost tales of these other characters that are outside the traditional characters that we got from the cartoon in the 80s and all that stuff. I think is really interesting. Based on all of that, I'm going to give this one a promisingly good as well. Because I think if it's as good as Apex was, it's going to be a fun read, a strong read, especially if you're a Thundercats fan or you're a fan of what Dynamite has been doing with the Thundercats franchise, as I am. Next, we have DCX Sonic the Hedgehog from DC Comics. This is the crossover that I did not expect to find on the list this week, but I'm curious about it because it's written by Ian Flynn, who writes the Sonic comics. So I think that's pretty cool. And the story follows Darkseid, who crosses over into Sonic's universe seeking the ultimate power. So that's kind of pretty cool. Obviously, the Justice League is going to get involved. You're going to see the Justice League, along with Sonic's friends, teaming up to take on Darkseid and all the forces of Apocalypse, maybe teaming up with the forces of Eggman. I don't know. That could be kind of fun and, goofy fun, but still fun all the same. So, this is the first part of this crossover, this crazy, wacky crossover between the DC heroes and Sonic the Hedgehog. And, check it out. If that sounds fun to you, I'm going to give this one a potentially good, because these kind of things, you never know what you're going to get or what kind of level of, story you're going to get with these. But sounds like a fun time to me, so potentially good. And finally, we have the next installment to the Absolute Universe series of books. We have Absolute Flash issue number 1. This is written by Jeff Lemire with art by Nick Robles, and it follows a Scarlet Speedster that has no speed force, has no family, and that's all the information we know. We've seen a little bit of a taste of what this world is like. This is a 40-page book for $4.99. Everything in the Absolute Universe has been, at the very least, solid. Going from Wonder Woman to, Superman and Batman, which have both been, really good. Wonder Woman for me is the least of the three so far, but still decent. But Flash seems so far to be a really good series, and Jeff Lemire at the helm gives me more hope for it. And this cover art looks pretty awesome as well. So, excuse me, yeah, I'm actually excited about this. I'm excited to expand this absolute universe and see what the Flash of this world is like. And I'm giving this one a promisingly good, based on what I've seen and based on Jeff Lemire being the writer here, and just based on all the other absolute universe content that we've gotten, which has been really good so far. So promisingly good for me to wrap up this week's firsts. And with that said, I will share a handful of other books that I'm anticipating that are not first issues. First up, we have, sticking with the Absolute Universe, we've got Absolute Batman issue number 6. And this is the conclusion to the first arc of Absolute Batman. It says it concludes with a larger-than-life story while introducing a few new elements to come in arc 2. And you'd have to be absolutely capital mad to miss it. So I'm assuming Mad Hatter is making an appearance in the Absolute Universe here. This is concluding the zoo story and the whole thing with Black Mask and the party animals and all of that. And it says, how do his childhood friends, Edward Nygma, Waylon Jones, Harvey Dent, and Oswald Cobblepot, among others, play a crucial role in Batman's legacy as Gotham's vigilante? That's how we're going to wrap things up with this one. I'm excited to see how the story arc wraps up and what this means for this version of Batman going forward, especially after last issue where nothing went right for Bruce, and you kind of saw him kind of out of his depth a little bit. So I'm really curious to see where we go from here. Miles Morales Spider-Man issue number 31 continues this crossover with Deadpool and Deadpool's daughter trying to kill Spider-Man. Now he has both of them, coming after him. Should Miles survive this fight, he'll have to face the terrifying threat pulling all these strings. So this crossover has been fun so far. I'm looking forward to this one as well. One World Under Doom issue 2. First issue, I had some little nitpicks about it, but overall, I like the story. I've enjoyed all the content that I've read in this overall arc of Doom kind of ruling the world. Every single part that I've read of this, every kind of tie-in and everything has been pretty solid. So I'm looking forward to seeing where issue 2 takes this story. Exceptional X-Men number 7. The interesting thing about this one is the branding on the top. So this is part of X-Man Hunt, which is the hunt for Professor X, of course. But you may have noticed how on like X-Men, Uncanny X-Men stuff, you have like part, 1 of 7, etc., whatever it is. So this one has the X-Man Hunt logo on the top of it, but it says Collateral Damage instead of a part of or tie-in or whatever. I like that. I like that yes, it's a tie-in, and yes, it's kind of referencing that, but it's still sticking to the stories that are going on in Exceptional X-Men, which is like following Axo and this Sheldon Zenos guy, and then that whole subplot that we introduced recently in the series. But labeling it Collateral Damage says, hey, something happens here that's tied into that event, but it's just kind of this little side thing that you don't necessarily have to read. But if you're reading this series anyway, if you like these characters, whatever, you can read this, or if you want to get the full picture. So it's an interesting, it's just a little kind of touch that separates it from like your typical, oh, this is a tie-in, that makes you feel like you have to read it to get the full story. But saying it's Collateral Damage just says like, oh, if you want to know how this affects these characters, go check it out. So I really like that. I really like that a lot. So anyway, just wanted to make note of that. G.I. Joe issue number 5, G.I. Joe versus Cobra. Finally, we're getting there. And, the Joes have suffered a bunch of losses, and now their backs against the wall. And this could be their last stand. I hope not, because I mean it's an ongoing series, so I mean you don't want it to end in issue 5. But anyway, we'll see how far the Joes can go to stop Cobra's plans. And then finally, Bug Wars issue number 2. Issue 1 was really good. Took me by surprise. Didn't really know what to expect with it, but I kind of liked the John Carter of Mars kind of vibe to it. The way, when he shrunk down, he was super powerful because he's human. I thought that was an interesting twist to what we normally get when characters shrink down and enter kind of a subatomic world. So I really like that aspect of it a lot. So now we're going to see if he can stave off this threat that kind of threatens to kill the rest of his family. So we'll see what happens with that. But that is it. That's all the books that I have to talk about this week. Thank you for bearing with me, and thank you for continuing to watch and supporting me through when I do have to miss. Appreciate all the positive comments and thoughts as well. So yeah, I'm back, and knock on wood and all that stuff. I'll be back next week with another show as well. And yeah, thank you for watching this episode. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and consider hitting that subscribe notification bell so you don't miss any of the other episodes or content on the channel. Of course, you can follow me across social media at OnlyGoodComics or type in OnlyGoodComics.com to take you right back to this YouTube channel where we talk about only good comics. Until next time, thanks for watching. Take care. Keep reading those comics, and I'll see you soon. Bye.